Alright, so there's nobody in the range today, so I'm shooting the Glock Apex trigger. See how this bad boy does. Pretty exciting. That's the first 10 rounds. Trigger's got a nice feel to it. Let's see what it looks like here. Now that's a pretty controllable group. Really nice. 10 rounds.
Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 and the table. So from that shooting video, it was the first 10 rounds that I actually put through this Glock after I had put in the Apex trigger. And, I have to say, guys, that for me personally, I wasn't necessarily too keen on changing out anything in this handgun. I know a lot of people out there do. After talking to KS and Big Johnson and just kind of looking at some of the videos, I felt it would be actually a pretty good enhancement to this gun that I absolutely love. Now, obviously, I went with the blue trigger, and just so you guys know, what came in this kit was basically you get your trigger bar, and it's a Gen 3 trigger bar. It also came connected with the shoe, which is nice, so you don't have to pull any pins or anything like that. Again, it also came with the plunger and also a, what's the word I'm looking for the connector as well. So it has connected with the plunger and the trigger bar and the shoe. Again, this is anodized blue, which is kind of sweet. It's aluminum, and it's got that flat face to it, so I think that also helps the trigger, and I'll just kind of hold it a little bit up to the camera so you guys can see that. But overall, I have to say I've been very pleased with the way this trigger felt. So today was really the first day I went and shot it, and I put how many rounds did I put through this thing? I put, I think, either 150 or 200 rounds, I can't remember, in the Glock 19 today, and I have to say that for me personally, I've never really had any issues with the Glock trigger that comes stock on it. I think the reset is good. The trigger pull isn't extremely heavy, but it's not extremely light, and everything is tactile. And of course, you get a good reset. So for me, I never really had any issues with the Glock 19 trigger that came with the Gen 4, but obviously to kind of fit the gun, I wanted to get something different. So I went with this Apex set, and I have to say it has been a dramatic improvement in certain areas. First off, the shape of the trigger is absolutely awesome. Again, you have that flat face, you have the trigger dingus, which is very standard for the Glock, and just so you guys know, the gun is safety checked. I check all my guns before I shoot. And, basically when that dingus goes in, it goes in flat into the trigger. And that's something I definitely like on guns. I know a lot of people don't necessarily think about it too much, but for me personally, I have to say I like when the the dingus is actually flat into the trigger because it's much more comfortable to shoot. Initially with the stock trigger, the dingus has a tendency to stick out a little bit more. So for me personally, and again, it's just a personal preference, it usually bothered my trigger finger just a little bit, but not anything that would not want me to shoot the gun or make me shoot the gun. But with this, you get a flat dingus inside the trigger, which makes it a lot, I guess you could say a lot more pleasant to shoot. Now, in regards to the trigger, and I'll see if I can turn it. I'm going to turn it this way, guys, because where my camera's positioned. But there's your take up right there. So there's not a lot of take up. Now, again, I just put in about anywhere from 150 to 200 rounds through today. So, I am still breaking in everything. And I have to say that even now, the trigger just feels like it's even getting better. Now, that's a pretty short take up. But I will tell you, there is a little slop in that trigger until it breaks. So you'll notice that when I hit that wall, there's a little bit more, right about there, a little bit more sponginess in the trigger, and then it breaks. So it's got a very nice clean break. It's just the lead up to it. Now here's your reset right there. So I would say it's about the same as the Glock before in regards to the reset. It's not any worse. It's not any better necessarily. But I will tell you that the trigger just feels really nice in the finger, especially the way this trigger is shaped. So that's a huge bonus. Now, again, there's your little bit of squishiness in that trigger right about there, and then it breaks. So again, is this going to be a game changer if you're going to be a competitive shooter? Absolutely not. But that's not what this is for. This is for me as a concealed carry weapon. And I will tell you that shooting this gun today, just being able to, have a little bit nicer shape on the trigger, in my opinion, made me shoot a little bit better today than normal. Again, I think there's a lot of things that can be said for this. I would obviously say that I'm not a fan of the flat face trigger, but on this particular trigger, it just is absolutely perfect. And I think it also has something to do with the bottom of that trigger. You'll notice there's a little bit of a ledge there. So when your finger goes on that trigger, it doesn't fall off. You know, some flat face triggers, it's just completely flat. And my finger has a tendency to kind of go to the bottom a little bit. But with this, you can actually feel that ledge when your finger goes there. So as you're holding that gun, you just know that's the perfect placement. And again, just a little closer, you can see there's really the wall and the take up. There's a little bit more sponginess there, but then it breaks. Reset wise, it's a little long, but it's very tactile. It's very audible. So that is a very, very nice feature of this handgun. And again, a very nice break. So, I mean, overall, what would I say about this trigger? I would tell you that the trigger is definitely improved. Poundage wise, it lost about a pound on it. So right now, I think it's pulling at around 4.5. I think when I measured it was 4.5, 5-ish. But overall, it's made a big difference in regards to the enjoyment of the shooting of the handgun. You know, that is one of the things that I've always said I like about Glock is the ability to customize it. But I think what's even more important is to understand that when you have good companies out there that make really quality stuff for that customization of the handgun, I think it makes it even the better. And in this case, Apex has definitely earned my business. I'm definitely going to probably be picking up a 2.0 trigger at some point. Hopefully they come up with something like this. I would really like to see this flat face trigger on an M&P because in my opinion, this is just one of the most comfortable triggers I've ever shot with. And you know, I have to say, guys, this Glock shot pretty well for me today. And if it wasn't really just for me having kind of an off shooting day, I would say that this gun probably would have performed better. But the Apex trigger, in my opinion, is an added bonus. If you have a Glock and you haven't decided to put this trigger in, I would definitely recommend it. Again, I haven't really tested anything else out there in the market, but for me, this is a pretty solid addition to this handgun. I really like it and I enjoyed shooting it. So I'm going to show you some more clips of how this gun shot. And, you know, at the end, we'll just kind of say goodbye. So just stay tuned.
Okay. Nice first 20. This trigger's sweet. Apex trigger, real nice. The shoe is comfortable. Great stuff. I got a couple high, one there bad, two bad. Pretty good.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that shooting. It wasn't definitely my best day shooting today. You know, it happens. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days. Overall, though, I felt that I did pretty well. And I do have to say that I do think that a lot of it had to do just with the shape of the trigger and just the, I guess you could say almost the smoothness of how this trigger actually shot. And so for me, if I look back at all the Glocks that I've owned in the past that I never did any trigger jobs to, and now that I got an M&P 2.0 coming, I can tell you right now, I'm definitely going to be putting one of these in there. You know, again, let me know what you think. Tell me if you think Apex is good. Tell me if you think it's bad. Why not? You know, any other options out there that I could take a look at. You know, I really did like shooting with this, but I'm always open to trying and do other things with this gun. So I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe out there. And as always, freedom is never free.